Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and I have Cassie Dang with me, and she is a talent manager. Is that right? Talent manager?
Cassie Dang?
What is it? Cassie.
Cassie.
What did I say?
Easy.
Oh,
That's okay.
see that?
It's Cassandra, actually, if you want to be real official. But yes,
Sandra Dang.
you make it
All
too.
right. So now that I've flubbed her name, the interview is going to go great.
Great.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know you're over in LA and you do a radio show.
I do a radio show.
Mm-hmm.
I produce a radio show. I produce a live stand-up show. And I produce a couple of things that we're trying to make into TV shows.
Nice.
So I do produce, but I also represent comedians and a couple writers in management under Dang Entertainment, which is my LLC. I started officially last summer. So
Wow.
about a little over a year now. I started Dang Entertainment.
So what type of people do you have on your radio show? Just comedians?
Okay, so the radio show that I joined is on the internet, and it's with two hosts that are crazy. They're insane. One of them is a comedian who I've worked with in the past. I actually met him at the World Series of Comedy when I judged that 2 years ago. And then the other host, Mayhem, is this wacky DJ he's actually the DJ of Tommy Lee's band. And so we all have a variety of people, from musicians to comedians to mostly it's those two, but then there's always people interesting that sometimes we talk about tech, Bitcoins, political things. We have a couple regulars that come on. There's a comedian that's a regular. There's a dancer that's a regular, and we just talk about all kinds of things. But when it comes to music, we pretty much will play their music, and then we will discuss what it's like being in this industry that's kind of dying right now. And then also with comedians is usually when I step in as a producer and start asking questions, because technically that's
what are the hard questions that you ask some of these musicians or comedians?
I think you're assuming that I ask hard questions. So sometimes I ask them, I usually just ask them more about what their goals are, because I feel like that's what people want to talk about more. Well, people like talking about themselves, of course. So you want to ask what their background is. You always want to know a background to get a feel of what they're like in a comfortable manner. But then we say, where do you want to bring your comedy? When I meet with someone and I have lots of coffees with people, my question that I always ask is, whose career do you want? Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily mean it's their favorite person. It doesn't even mean that they want to be like that person. But I feel like when you ask what somebody's, whose career you want, that tells me, one, what type of industry or where they want to go, because comedy can be all over the board. It can be in TV. Some people want to just be a late night host. Some people want to write on a show, be on in a writer's room or EP or head write a comedy show, sitcom or whatever. Some people just want to write pilots. Some people just want to tour for the rest of their lives, and that's fine too. So with comedy, there's always a variety of answers when you want to ask what somebody's career is. The big ones I get are Louis C.K. Because he actually is the biggest comedian that I know who's only produced his own stuff, and he, it takes a lot to be able to own all your own stuff in this day. So yeah, questions like that usually. That's my favorite question, is whose career do you want?
And I was in LA and we missed a connection there when I was back there in February. But one of the things that I ran into, in fact, a friend, I guess he's a comedian. He was.
I guess he's a comedian.
He does a lot of different things, but he was talking about working at some type of magic show, and he was doing this and he was doing that, and he was like all over the place. Mm-hmm. And he's a great guy, but same. I find a lot of the comedians and musicians, and they're just like entrepreneurs. Right. They have their own dreams, their own goals, their own visions, but they still have to have some way to focus.
Yes. Meaning, is that what you think he needed, or is that what you?
Well, I think that they all need a little focus, but
Right.
some of them, when they're starting out, they just don't understand the niche that they want to get into. So maybe they're just playing a lot of, like musicians are playing a lot of heavy rock, or they're playing a lot of blues, and it's just not their style. They have to find their own style.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And same with comedy. What I've discovered is that, since Richard Pryor started using the F word, everybody wants to use the F word.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of clean comedians out there that are actually making more money, not trying to shock the audience.
When it comes to material content, which is what I think we're talking about, because blues and rock and stuff, and the F word. When it comes to material, I think that the best thing for a comedian to do is to do what comes naturally to them. Now, if that's going to be dirty F-bombs, even like Anthony Jeselnik, for instance, his content is very dark, but he turns it into humor, And then there's my favorite, actually, is Brian Regan. Brian Regan is 100% clean. He doesn't use any curse words, and his stories and his bits are actually mostly clean too. So, and I grew up with him. I think I was a fan because, I don't know, I was young. I didn't actually care about. So funny and clean was really cool, and it made me feel like there can be so many different kinds of comedy. I mean, but then now there are, like, also there's Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle's a good guy, and he's a good friend of mine, but he will curse all the time, and he'll make offensive jokes all the time, even about me sometimes. And he'll be on stage making Asian jokes, and I'll just laugh because I know that people enjoy laughing, even if it's dirty or not dirty. When it comes to content for comedians, if you curse all the time and then you try to do a clean set, it's hard. And late night shows and a lot of festivals and a lot of comedy clubs will require a video that's clean. With I don't know why, because it's like if you go outside of in any comedy place, it's like nobody really listens to that stuff. But for some reason, they really want 5 minutes of clean material, and that's hard to get for some people because that's just not how they work. For some reason, that's what they want. So it's always good to practice that or to have that skill.
Right.
I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. You touched on something, though, I think right now in society is a hot button, and that's kind of your ethnic background. You said you're Asian. That doesn't bother me. I have nieces and nephews that are half Indonesian, half Guatemalan, so to me, a human being is a human being. But on the flip side, people are getting offended by everything they hear on radio, by comedians, by DJs, by the news reporters. And where does it stop? Where do you draw a line and say, you know what, people, it's just laughter?
I think, well, who draws this line? That's the thing, is the comedy world, people are always saying, why can't you take a joke? Why can't people take it's a joke? But at the same time, they're also very sensitive about things, especially when it's personal. So I think that it's human nature for people to feel targeted, even when they're not necessarily, implicated in things like, oh my God, they're talking about Asians. They're I'm so offended. But to be honest, like, it's just, it's really how far you take it. If you can laugh, when it comes to comedy, I always say there's a balance. So the more inappropriate it is, the funnier it has to be. You know what I mean? So it has to balance out. If it's super inappropriate and not that funny, people are really like, that was really inappropriate. But if it's inappropriate, but it's really funny, people are gonna say that was really funny. So that's kind of how I weigh things out. If, like, when I see a Facebook post, and it's not funny, but it's, a little offensive, I don't take offense to it, but I'm always like, ooh, let's see what happens there. But then again, when I post something, sometimes people find it offensive when I'm almost certain that it's not. I actually posted last year on a World News video of two World War II vets who hadn't seen each other since the war. And I said something about how the shutter click of the camera was too loud. I got almost, I almost got 1,000 replies. I think I'm at like 990 something replies. I have like 6.5 thousand, I think it's 6,500 likes or something. I have to update it to say, peace and love, you guys are taking this too far. It literally just said, have they not invented a camera that's not so loud? And that I'm racist. I got that I'm, full of myself. People started trolling my page. I had to block people. People started fighting with each other on there. Like it was crazy. And I looked at it the other day. I'm like, this is nuts. I think I lost interest after like 2 days, but I kept it up there because I added an update to say, I just want people to read this and see how ridiculous you are, and to know that something so innocent can be taken so far. People were being so mean to each other, and my responses for the first 2 days were a little trying to be funny, but also very nice. I didn't really call anybody names or anything like that. I was just like, you people are being so hypocritical, and you don't even realize it. But I know that was when I first realized we were in trouble. When that happened, I was like, oh my God, our country is going down. Like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Because these people don't even realize how it's just obscene what type of balls people have when they're at their keyboards, And I'm sure you know that. You deal with people online all the time.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's the world we live in, and you go to post something and people just take it the wrong way. And it's not like, we're meeting each other face to face or even behind video where we can see our faces, we can see our facial expressions. They read into everything that we post, and they say, well, you're racist, or you're this, or you're that. And it's like, no, it's not what I meant.
No. And people really think that they know other people from social media well enough to assume they know what they're thinking, or to even jump to saying that I'm a racist. It's hilarious because people who know me are like, that's not even you at all. Like, that's crazy. I had some friends go on there and defend me and said, I've known Cassie forever. But, the line needs to be, there is no line to me. There doesn't need to be a line drawn. There just needs to be compassion, some humor taken, and also maybe a little bit better judgment when saying certain things. Because, like I said, if it's funny and it's inappropriate, that will come off better. Even if it's not right, it's true. And so if you're going to say something that you believe in, then maybe say it in a thoughtful manner, or don't just blurt out, oh, this is what's wrong with you blacks. Don't say stuff like that. Don't post stuff like that, or expect people to have an adverse reaction. And then on the flip side, same thing. It's like, when you see something, don't jump to the conclusion that they either, one, really mean that, because one, they're probably joking. Because a lot of times I joke and it doesn't translate well. And then in print. And then two, it's like, how is this really affecting your day? Like, are you really upset about this, or do you just want to say something about it? Because a lot of times that's all attention.
Does that affect your judgment when you try to select people for your show?
Does what?
Well, their take on, what's going on? Are they a racist? Are they this? Are they that? What they've posted on social. If you look at their profile, does that give you an idea of what they're going to say if you put them on your show?
A little bit. When I see people on social media, first thing I'll think is whether they're funny or not what their views are or whatever. Because I actually am very good friends with some comedians who get pretty offensive, but I don't mind that, because I don't judge people based on like what their opinions are necessarily, as long as they accept that I have my own opinions. And so when I look at a comic online, I'll think, one, are they funny? If they're funny, that's great. If they're controversial unnecessarily, like it would be hard to get them booked on shows, then I would consider that. Yes. Because, you know, it's hard to get booked on shows, and if people don't like you, then it's near impossible. But if you are thoughtful and you just have a strong opinion and people don't respect that, then that to me doesn't mean that they have a problem in general. That just means there's certain places that they belong and certain places they don't. So if they're funny, then I'll take it into consideration. But still, like, if I think that they're going to be, like, say, important stuff in the long run, no, I'm not going to avoid working with them necessarily. And I don't take things personally either. So they should know.
Do you do a show every day, or do you produce them all at once in a couple of days and then filter them out?
The radio show?
Mm-hmm.
The radio show is, we record twice a week for 2 or 3 hours. So 5 hours a week, basically. And then it airs, it's not live. So it airs the day after. There's no way I could do that show every day. That's crazy. I actually go to 2 to 4 comedy shows a night on average. And TV pitching is getting bigger in my schedule. I'm doing more of that stuff because I have writers. I've even pitched dramas. So I'm really busy. The radio show is actually pretty new for me. Everything is fairly new. My Dang Comedy Live show has been something that I've been wanting to do since I started working comedy 2 years ago. And I was waiting for the perfect situation for that, which I found, and I just started it last month. So that's kind of taken a lot of my attention too. But yeah, and then managing clients. I have less clients now than I did a year ago, but that's on purpose. Because I don't feel like it's fair to overcommit too much to certain things. And I want to be able to really just work well with the people that I represent. It's not about numbers for me. I don't care about followers as much as most industry does. I care more about genuine talent and if I can work well with them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things that I teach my clients is that it doesn't matter about the number of followers you have. Although that sounds impressive, it really comes down to, you know, are you getting clients? Because if I have 5,000 followers and nobody is calling me, then it doesn't matter. My messages are being thrown out on a deaf crowd. But if I can, you know, if I only had 12 followers and each 12 of those followers, you know, bought something from me or had me consult them or I made money somehow from them, then that's success right there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm more of a quality over quantity, but people don't get that. You know, a lot of these people, oh, well, I have 1 million followers. Great. How much money are you making from them? 0. Then it doesn't matter. You know,
the followers thing, I think I don't know if it's a cycle, but I think the industry who does care about followers, they just care about money, really. And a lot of times they don't really know what it takes for someone to be successful. They can't spot the talent. There are a few people who are really good at spotting talent. I feel like I'm pretty good at spotting talent or like having a good judgment. But if you don't have that, then all you have are the numbers and the objective, you know, things to evaluate people. So followers is the easiest way to know if somebody is, you know, getting seen. Now, what you do with that relies on their talent. So then you actually would need to be able to hone in that talent. So that doesn't make sense to me. They don't really correlate as much as they should. But, you know, to make money, I guess, if on YouTube or whatever, the followers is all that matters. If you're just a silly person who people like, you're not gonna be long lasting. Your career is not gonna be that long. So basically, whoever is just looking for those type of people are trying to make the quick buck and trying to do it in an easy way. And that's not me. I'm also quality over quantity. My show that I just started is in Huntington Beach, in Orange County, and there aren't very many shows out there. So I've decided that I want to make my brand known for quality comedy, not necessarily just who's on TV. So, you know, of course I have to a certain extent, I have to bring people or book people who will bring audiences, because you have to sell tickets or, get those seats filled. But as, past doing that, I want to make sure to bring people on who will get known more from it. Maybe it's we'll help each other out. They can get more popular in the Orange County area. It's a really good demographic out here to try to reach. And then, people, maybe they'll get a better following and maybe do more shows out here. Maybe I'm bringing comedy to my hometown.
What do you look for in talent? I mean, is there a certain criteria that you look for? Or you because I know for when I pick clients, and I say pick because, even though they come to me, I do go through, I ask them, questions. Usually I have them fill out a questionnaire so I can learn a little bit more about them. And if they don't fit the profile, I don't take them on as clients. So I'm sure that you have some type of, profile that you look at.
Do you have clients that are not in your area a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like the questionnaire thing wouldn't work for me, because I think what I require is, it's very broad. I think it's as long as I can see the value in that person. That's pretty much my only requirement. I don't have any like strict numbers. I don't this many years or, it's really hard to evaluate comedy in that way. That's why I go to 2 to 4 shows a night. When I decided to work in comedy, so I didn't work in comedy until 2-3 years ago. And before that I was working in TV, and before that I was a lawyer. So it's crazy. But I go to that many shows a night, or I go to so many shows because I want to be able to dive in and experience it for myself. That's the only way you can do it. I feel like maybe that's why industry looks at followers, because they don't have the time to go to shows and actually find these people themselves. But when I see someone killing on a stage, every time I go, oh, there's that person is valuable. Or when I meet with somebody and they tell me what they want their careers to be, and say they have a plan and it sounds really good and I think it's going to work, and they seem to have the work ethic that it would take to do that, then I'm like, okay, person has value too. But sometimes I'll see someone who's just really funny and really popular and cool, but doesn't have that work ethic. To me, I'm thinking, I don't think I could put that work in, but I think that they're great. So that doesn't mean that I won't necessarily rep them, because maybe I'll want them to be working. Like, what's the point of having the talent if you're not willing to work on it or to work for it? So, there are always little considerations that, like, I'll take all the factors into consideration when I want to rep someone. And also it's if they want me. Mm-hmm. I had a client once who got a big deal without me, and the communication wasn't great. He was clearly going to be a big deal, but I thought it was best for us to part ways, because I thought that he could be better suited for whatever other company he was talking to at that time. Since then, he's come back to me, so now he's my client again. But I had to let them experience that for themselves and for them to know. And now that he's been with a big company and realizes that's not his style or not what he wanted, and he's come back to me and said, I think you care about me. And I said, I do. And I didn't burn any bridges. I feel like I don't take it personally if people, it's your life, if you want to take it in whatever direction you want to take it, then go ahead. But what my job is to help you find out which direction to take it in and what steps to take.
Now if they sign up for you, and they want you to represent, where do you take them from there?
Oh, it depends. It just depends on what they want. People ask me that a lot, and it really, I want to know what they want. And if they want to be on TV, then I'll tell them, okay, let's get your reel going. Let's get you, if they want to be a host of something, okay, let's get your hosting reel. If they want to do a voiceover, or if they want to just start auditioning, I'm like, okay, let's find you an agent. Because I feel I would rather get a client an agent, so that the agent can just be getting them jobs, and I can help guide them to their other projects. Some of them want to do all kinds of things. I'm like, okay, well, let's submit to this festival and then audition for this. whatever they want their end goal to be, and whatever they're lacking in or whatever they need is their next step. Sorry, it's not a very definitive answer.
That's a great answer. I mean, I think what happens in people's minds is that they go to Hollywood and they instantly become an actor, or, you know, they get on some show, and it's not the case. There's lots of steps involved, and they just don't understand. So they go out there with this dream, you know, oh, I'm going to live in LA for, you know, a couple of weeks. I'm going to get signed up. I'm going to be an actor, and everything is going to be great. And it doesn't work that way. I've known people who have gone out to LA, you know, for 6-7 years, and, you know, they decide that they want to move back home, you know, and, you know, it takes people like you that know the angles to get people that, you know, really are determined to be an actor or a comedian, you know, into the right spots.
Yeah. People come to LA and say, I need a manager or I need an agent now. And that's usually not the case. Usually if you want a good manager that, you know, or a good agent, for the most part, you're going to have to practice, go, you know, try doing things on your own, and you have to find them. And it's not easy. I actually get pitched to every time I go out. And I actually have a strict rule where I won't talk business after 11:30 p.m. And most of the comedians that I hang out with know that, because it's actually a double thing. It's because sometimes, you know, I'm in my recreational mode and I'm not going to remember what we were talked about. And most part is, if I tell them to email me in the morning, they'll all say yes, but 1 or 2% of them will actually do it. And if they don't if they don't have the initiative to do that, but they want to talk about themselves to me late at night, that tells me that they're not serious about it. So, you know, that's, to me, that's the first step, is to have the initiative and the drive to do what you want, or to do what you need to do, because that's the only way you're going to stay out there, because it's going to be a rough ride the whole way, you know, and it's almost never easy. Never.
You know, I think it's also important to turn it off. And you said that after 11:30, you turn it off. You're no longer interested in talking to them about, you know, the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that every entrepreneur needs to turn it off sometimes. I even have a problem with that, because I'm constantly wired on how, you know, to make money or to help my client or do something. But, you know, you have to have that determination, also that mental attitude to learn to turn it off, because you will forget what people are telling you.
Yeah, all the time. And also I'm out so much that sometimes I just don't feel like being pitched to. That's not to say that I'm not evaluating when I'm out watching shows, or when I'm, you know, hanging out with people, but, you know, when I hear about drama and stuff, I do take all that into consideration. So it's not necessarily off. And I say I'm always working. Like sometimes I'll get an email, I'll send emails at night or whatever. So it's not like I'm turning my job off. It's that I'm turning that interaction off with people.
Mm-hmm.
Because who knows, in comedy, everyone's out late night, and you really need to be able to determine who's worth the time and who's not. I only have so much time, you know, and I don't like my time being wasted. And if people waste my time, that's actually a big minus for me, because I'll think, okay, if you're wasting my time already, then if I work with you, how's it going to be then? You know, like I don't have time for that either. So, you know, I'm still kind of evaluating things late, but I do turn off certain parts. And it's also a good filtration system, honestly. Like if people don't have my email, they can find it, or they can ask me for it, and I'd be happy to give it to them. Or, you know, if they just want to ask a question or something, or if they just need to be introduced to someone, you know, if say I have a friend, I'm a connector. That's what I do. That's part of my nature, is I'm just really good at connecting people. So if I have a friend who happens to love politics, and then I have, you know, like I see a producer of a show, you know, and I'll introduce them, and it's so easy. And I get, or people come to me all the time asking for like suggestions on, do you know a comedian who sings and plays an instrument and knows how to do this? And I'll be like, yes, I do. and then I'll send them a list of names. So a lot of times, or even if it's crew, do you know a camera operator with at least this type of equipment and da 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 da? And I'll ask around. I'll be like, yeah, actually, here's a list of names. I kind of I connect people. I think it's because I'm really good at remembering, or at least knowing where to look in general. I think Facebook is a big part of that. Sometimes I'll be like, which of my friends does immigration law? And like, I'm probably a third of my friends, a quarter of my friends on Facebook are lawyers because from law school and stuff. So, and that's helpful. A lot of people in the industry don't get law stuff or business stuff. So a lot of times people on Facebook who I'm not even friends with will ask a tax question like, hey, I'm working for this production company and they want me to fill out this form for da 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 da. And I'll go back and I'll say, hey, by the way, because I have because my background's actually in business. So I'll be like, oh, just so you know, you should look at this website. And it's really no big deal. That being said, I don't like doing anything in business anymore or law. So that's really the only good that my education brings, is to help people who I'm now working with or want to in the future.
Where do you find that most of the comedians are going to for social media? Are they still using Facebook, or using Snapchat? They're using, LinkedIn or any Instagram?
I think Instagram is probably the biggest one right now for comedians. Facebook, obviously, that's where I'm at. I'm on Facebook mostly. Yeah, I'm gonna say, I think, and Twitter. Twitter's always gonna be a thing now. It's gonna be in history books now because of our current political climate. Twitter's a big part of our current events and politics right now. So I think Twitter's always gonna be a thing. I think Instagram's getting pretty big. I don't think Snapchat's gonna be too good for comedy. I think that's more for other modeling, industries, kind of like personality-based stuff. And people are really becoming their images, like brands. People are brands now because it's so easy to get on social media and for people to like you. So, but comedy-wise, I don't know. I think it's more going to be Instagram and Facebook. YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Snapchat, and I've been finding a lot of my clients they don't want to do the 8-second, 10-second little blurbs or try to create a story that involves 20 snaps together. It's just, for them, it's, they could just rather get on Facebook.
I'm not always camera ready. Are you kidding me? Like, hello.
Yeah, I just throw a hat on. I mean, that's.
But like, I don't know. I'm the same. I don't need people to know what my day is.
Mm-hmm.
My entire day is like every day. I don't Snapchat at all. But I can see how it's fun. I don't know. I guess maybe it's the attention span of people these days. People don't have long attention spans, so they're cool with just an 8-second snap. I don't even know what the lingo is. Is it a snap? Is it a?
I call them all snappers, and everybody's like, that's not the lingo, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. To me, it's.
I barely know how Twitter works.
Yeah, I don't even tweet anymore, or I do Facebook, Instagram, sometimes, and then all my videos go on YouTube. But those are really the three and LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn because it's business to business, but I don't see a lot of comedians getting on LinkedIn because, it is business to business.
I have all of those accounts. I just don't really use them that much. LinkedIn, I don't find comedy much on LinkedIn, no. But I do talk to people in business. Or actually, you know what? Somebody did find me on LinkedIn and I had a coffee or lunch with him, and he wants to be a comedy writer. So I guess it can help, but that's not where I'm looking for it. Comedy finds me, to be honest.
Well, how do people, if they're watching this video, how do they find you?
I'm everywhere. I'm all over LA. I'm at the Comedy Store and the Hollywood Improv like 3 to 5 nights a week usually. I have my website. My website's not that great, but I'm more on Facebook. It's Dang Entertainment. I have Dang Comedy Live on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And but really, like, I'm a very approachable person. A lot of people that just come up to me at clubs and we'll talk for a little bit and then we'll just start a relationship. Or some people will want, I'll just have coffees with them. Or people like you, how do we know each other? I think you and I just have a mutual friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I posted something and you chimed in and I'm like, okay, let's be friends. And you're like, okay, great. And then I said, hey, I'm going to be out in LA, but you couldn't make it because you were doing your show. But now here we are, we're doing a video. So, you know, connections are great if you learn to ask. But I find that most people out there, you know, they say, well, that person's unapproachable, or they're too big, or they're, you know, they're just ask. All you have to do.
Just talk. Just be yourself. That's what I you know, like some people are so
I don't know
scared.
how to be anything else but myself, and I know that irritates people, but
no, but that's the thing is when you're not being yourself, it's so obvious, and that I think that's what people are scared of is the inauthenticity of having relationships with people that they don't even know. Because why would you, you know, if you're a big comedian or you're kind of a celebrity or whatever, like the thing that I found I connect with most is just telling real stories and being a real person with them. And, you know, one of my best friends works he's a very hard and very frequently working comedian. And people will ask what he's working on, and I'll have no idea because I'm like, I don't know, but I know what he ate for dinner last night, you know, because that's what we talk about. Or I just had the headliner on my last show. Is basically he was doing it out of the kindness of his heart because I don't pay that much, and he's a huge star. And we became friends because he has 5 kids, and I'm the youngest of 5. And we've literally, that's what we first talked about, saying, oh yeah, having a big family, da, 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 da. So I think just being yourself really goes a long way, and you don't need to tell everybody your resume. I run into a lot of people who just, well, I've done this, that. And half the time, I don't even know what the projects that they're talking about are. And then the second half of the time, I'm thinking, is this person going to just stop talking about what, you know, like, what are they doing? You know, what are they doing with their lives? I have clients who I'll remind them, I'm like, okay, but how does that help us now? Where do we go from here? You know, or what do we learn from that so that we can talk about future stuff, you know, progress. I think to have any type of progression is the goal. Even if it's not as much as one might think. Most people want to become a star immediately.
Very smart follower.
Even if it's little steps, as long as you're progressing, that's all you really can ask for. But yeah.
You know, this was great. I mean, the interview turned out wonderful. I mean, and, you know, for those who don't know, she had a rough night last night. I get into details.
Yeah.
Know all that. But, you know, the interview turned out well. I mean, and I hope that anybody watching this that wants to learn a little bit more about, you know, not only how to get onto a radio show, but if you have talent in you, whether it's comedic talent or you want to be an actor, actress, get a hold of Cassie.
Yes. Cassie Dang. Dang Entertainment.
So Dang Entertainment, and find her on Facebook. Look for her on Instagram. Or if you're in the LA area, just open up the phone book. No, you'll find her at some comedy club. And yeah, just have a conversation with her. That's all. I mean, it's not, hey, what's your phone number? No, just open up, say hi. And from there, don't talk about yourself. Just talk about everything else.
I mean, you can talk about yourself, but like, not too much. just a little bit. We'll start with baby steps.
So we'll end with baby steps. And I want you guys to take that first step and contact her right now. So, hey, this is Rob Anspach with Cassie Dang, and we're signing off. Adios.
Yeah.